Hello everyone, welcome to this video on the idea of postponement in seasonal inventory management. So this is a series of videos that we're talking about in the context of uh, managerial levers that you can pull to improve supply chain profitability. We saw the impact of improved forecasting and also quick response in the last couple of videos. In this video, I'll be talking about postponement, and we will not be looking at tailored sourcing for this class. So postponement, this is the last video in this series. We'll be talking about the idea of postponement and how can postponement improve profits and reduce inventories, right? So what exactly is postponement? Postponement means that instead of completing the completely manufacturing a particular item, you manufacture part of the item and then finish the manufacturing later on. So it could be something like you make all the parts, but then the assembly is done at a different location, for example. So you have a set of activities that are done prior to customers placing an order, and a few of the things that are done after a customer places orders. Now, what this does is for the items that are manufactured before they are individualized, you can make generic items. So you can make generic products, and that reduces the amount of inventory, has a lot of cost savings for us. So any activities prior to the differentiation point, you can make aggregate forecasts, and which are tend to be more accurate than individual product forecast values, as we saw in aggregate planning. Now, individual product forecasts are only needed close to the time of sale, and it results in a better match of supply and demand, and it is usually valuable in online sales, right? So we look at a very straightforward, simple example of this, and we'll look at an example from Benetton. Benetton is a clothing company, and let's say that they manufacture four color. They make a basic T-shirt in four colors, right? So there are four solid color T-shirts that they polo shirts that they sell. Now, if you assume that the demand for all four colors is similar, the demand has a mean of 1,000 and standard deviation of 500. You'll sell the T-shirts at $50. Their salvage value is $10. That you can only recover $10 at the end of the season. Now, you have two options. You can either produce without postponement, in which case it costs us $20 per unit to per t-shirt to manufacture, or you can produce with postponement, in which case it is more expensive because you're only going to make part of the t-shirt now and then do it later. So think of it as we'll just manufacture white t-shirts, and then later on we'll dye the t-shirts the colors that we want, once we have a better idea of which of these colors are selling and so on, right? So that's the option. But here, postponement definitely means that costs have gone up. But then why are we even considering postponement if costs have gone up? So let's look at option one. So option one is straightforward. You have four different demand values, but still you're just looking at four separate orders that need to be placed. You have four separate colors. So you'll manufacture four of these four sets of t-shirts, and the amount that you order is the same because the sales price, the salvage value, and all of the cost, all of that is the same. Demand is also the same. So it's essentially you're replicating the same thing four times, right? So then for each color, we calculate the cycle service level, which will turn out to be 0.75, and using the demand and standard deviation value, our optimal order quantity will be 1,337, and then the expected profit for each t-shirt is 23,664, and our total expected profit will be just four times that because you're just replicating it for four t-shirts, which will be 94,576, right? And so that is if you're doing them individually, so no postponement at all. Now, what happens if you do postpone it? So if you do postpone it, a few things to keep in mind. One is that demand and standard deviation won't be 1,500 anymore because you're putting all four you're manufacturing enough t-shirts to satisfy demand for all four colors, you're going to aggregate demand into a single place. So when you're aggregating demand, just like the previous case when you were looking at quick response, and then when you're putting standard deviations together, you don't multiply them directly, you take square roots. The same thing comes in here again. That's where you have when you have um, aggregating demand gives you lower cost values, right? So average demand, putting all four together, the average demand will be 4,000, 4 times the 1,000. But standard deviation will be square root of 4 times 500. Why square root of 4? Because again, you're putting four standard deviations together, you're actually adding the variances. So it'll be square root of 4 times 500. So standard deviation becomes 1,000. So if you now calculate the optimal order quantity, it will be 4,524. And the expected profits will be 98,000 and $92, which is more than the $94,576 that you'd make if you had four separate orders, right? And everything will be higher. So if you look at the expected understock and overstock and you compare that with what you have, all of that will be higher. So let's implement this in Excel and we'll see the value of postponement, right? So let's see. Oh, let me save this. Right, so this is quick response. Right, I'm gonna open a new Excel file. Just copy my formulas over. Now, unlike the previous case, I don't think I need the number of selling periods and stuff. Yeah, we don't need the number of selling periods and all of that. So I'm just gonna remove this whole thing. So I'm gonna call it four separate orders. Right. So mean for us, the average value is 1,000 and standard deviation was, I'm sorry, I forgot that number. So standard deviation was 500, right? Standard deviation was 500. Now, the t-shirts are made for, I'm sorry, the t-shirts are made for $50. So sold for $50. They are made for $20, and the salvage value is $10, right? So our expected profit is 23,644 for each individual color. So total profit will be 4 times 4 times the expected profit. Remember, why is it 4 times expected profit? Because there are 4 colors. If there were 5 colors, that would be 5 times the expected profit because you're looking at each color individually. So 4 separate orders. Total profit is $94,577. So that's the total profit that we have for 4 separate orders. Now, we'll say single aggregate order. Single aggregate order for all colors. So just going to copy this whole thing over. So most of the numbers are going to be the same. You know what? Let me make the fonts bigger. Right, so most of the numbers are going to be the same, except obviously for a demand value. So demand is going to be 4 times 1,000, and standard deviation is going to be square root of 4 times 500. Ah, now why is it showing 107? Because we didn't change the cost. The cost, if you do postponement, it's called this postponed orders. So this is when you postpone everything, right? So 98,092.29. So there is, so it absolutely makes sense for you to postpone. So if you postpone, you're aggregating orders. You're making a lot of white T-shirts, and if let's say red is selling better than orange, or red is selling better than green or something, you can make a little more of red and a little little less of green, and that way you can balance things out. So even though you have I'm sorry, even though you're putting them together, you don't know exactly what you're doing. Your costs have gone up. Your total profit goes down. So if you look at the expected overstock and understock and everything, so one thing you'll notice is that if I calculate the overstock values for the whole season, and the same for the understock values for all four of the values, you'll notice that overstock and understock are both significantly higher than what you would get with the postponed values, right? And even the order quantity. So the order quantity, if you multiply it with 4, you'll notice that you would be ordering way more than if you use postponement. That is because you're looking at four separate things, and there is variability in all four orders, right? Okay, let me get rid of that. And that's the idea. So that's the idea of postponement, right? So that's the first thing. Now, there are a couple of other things with postponement that we'll do. So we'll look at postponement here. Now, so that's the value of postponement. Now, so postponement allows firms to increase profits and better match supply and demand. If the firm produces a large variety of products whose demand is unpredictable and not positively correlated. Now, the value of postponement decreases as the uncertainty decreases or demand is positively correlated, and that's a crucial piece. Now, postponement is not always good. One of the examples when postponement is actually detrimental to us is when a large fraction of demand comes from a single product, right? So let's say that, so let's look at a simple example here. So let's say that in the same Benetton example, instead of all four colors having the same demand, let's say that red sweaters are the ones that sell the most, and let's say that the demand for red sweaters, the average demand is 3100, standard deviation is 800, and other colors have an average demand of 300 and standard deviation of 200. Given that, if we calculate the expected profits of working on them individually and then working on calculating them all together, you will notice that the expected profit of postponement will only be 99,872, while the expected profit without postponement will be 102,205, which means that this is one scenario where postponement is actually not beneficial. So if one color dominates, then postponement doesn't make sense. So let's look at that. So this is quick response. Let me get off that. Even this. This is the impact of forecast. All demands are equal. Let me just make a copy. Call it demands not equal. Let me see if this is possible. Yeah, this should be possible. Right. So what we'll do is, let me insert a couple of columns here. So we will not make four separate orders. We'll make We'll first look at red sweaters, and then other colors, three other colors. Okay, and then we look at postponed orders for everything together. So let's first look at this case. So the all of these values are the same. So it's $50 to sell it, $20 to make it, $10 is the salvage value. So average demand is 3,100. Standard deviation of demand is 800, right? Cost of understocking, overstocking, they're all the same. So the cycle service level is 75%, and so the optimal order quantity is 3,460, and our expected profit is $82,831.15. So this is for just the red sweaters. Now total profit is just going to be this profit plus 3 times whatever profit we end up here. So I'm going to leave that alone right now. And let me just copy these formulas over. Right? Now, it's the same for the other ones, but the other ones, they have mean is 300 and standard deviation is 200, right? So for each of them, the expected profit is 6,457 for each of the individual colors, and the overall profit, when you add them together, it comes out to be $102 and $102,204.51, right? So that is what it comes down to. So let me calculate a total. You know what? I did not do a total here, so let me actually do a total here so that we can compare them. So this will be 4 times this number. In this case, it will be 4 times this number, and 4 times. So I'm just basically calculating the total expected profit and the expected overstock and understock and the cost of overstocking and understocking, which are significantly lower when you postpone orders when demands are equal. But when demands are not equal, so let's calculate the totals. Total optimal order quantity will be this plus 3 times this, right? Maybe I'll just copy the formula down because that's how it's going to work. This is a dollar value, so let me do that. Don't want any decimals here. These are also dollar values, right? So for red sweaters, that's the profit. For 3 other colors, that's the profit. So total profit is $102,204.51. The total expected overstock is 1154. Expected understock is 209. Cost of overstocking, cost of understocking, we have all of these numbers. Now let's do the same for postponed order system. So by this we mean that red sweaters and all colors, they're all postponed at the same time. So fully postponed. Oops. Right, fully postponed. That's the value there. So let's get to it. So the sales price. So because if it's postponed sales price, the cost will be $22. Now it's a demand. So when you calculate demand, it will be 3,100 plus 3 times this number here. That's 4,000. So it turns out to be. But this is where we have to be careful. So remember how last time we did square root of 4 times the standard deviation. We cannot do that here directly. So for that, we have to square this standard deviation and 3 times the square of this standard deviation, right? So that's how you do it. So you square the standard deviation plus 3 times the square of the standard deviation, all of that under square root, right? So So that will give you this particular standard deviation. This is the formula here, if you notice. So 800 square plus 3 times 200 square. So 872. So that's the value that we get here. All right. So now you'll notice that the total cost is a 99. Total profit will be $99,875.54, which is definitely less than the $102,000. So this is one scenario where postponement does not make sense, right? Now, what if we can do some sort of tailored postponement, which is to say that because red sweaters are such a big part of everything, maybe we don't postpone the red sweaters, but we just manufacture all the red sweaters. But for the other three colors, because the demand is so low, maybe we do some postponement for just for those three colors, right? So in that case, profit does go up. So this is a tailored sort of postponement. So let's quickly calculate. Let's quickly calculate tailored postponement. So tailored postponement of three low demand colors, right? So the red sweaters, we manufacture it just as it is. So we have the red sweater values. So you know what, let me just copy that over. That's okay. And insert a column here. Right. So the red sweater is exactly the same. So there is no differences there. It's the same thing for the red sweaters. But for the tailored postponement, so it will be. Let me just copy the whole thing over again. Right. So here, so because there's no postponement here, this is still 20, but there is postponement here, so this will be 22. But demand will now be different. So demand will be 3 times 300. Standard deviation will be square root of 3 times 300. Sorry, 200 in this case, 246. Right. So with that, for the three colors, low demand colors put together, the total profit is 20,098. So okay, maybe I'll insert another row up here. No postponement. This is full postponement, and this. Let me paste that there. Right? Okay, good. So let's calculate the total. So if I calculate the total, it's just the sum of these two numbers now. Because I did tailored postponement here, I can just calculate the sums. Get rid of the, oh, that's not good. Right? So total profit now will be $103,213, which is definitely more than the $102,204.51, right? So remember, because you're postponing the three other colors, the cost will definitely go up for those three other colors. And demand will be 3 times. Standard deviation will be square root of 3 times standard deviation. So given all of that, that's how much you'll order. So total that you end up ordering is is more than when you do tailored sourcing, but because there is one dominant value, tailored sourcing will not work out, right? So in this case, the optimal thing to do is to do tailored. So full postponement will not work out, but tailored postponement will work out. So that's the idea here. But that's the other thing. Tailored postponement might not always work out. If this is say 3,900 and these were only like hundreds, so if they only sell a few items, then postponement will absolutely not work out, right? Of course, if the variation is higher, again, tailored postponement will not work out. So there are lots of things that make it happen. So you cannot tell which is the optimal right from the beginning, right? So this video is really long, but this is everything that I wanted to talk about postponement. So in this, we looked at what is postponement and how do you calculate costs when you are postponing demand and supply chain for all your products when demands are equal, in which case you saw that postponement definitely helps out. But if demands are unequal, doing full postponement might not be the right value. The profit actually goes down. But if you can do tailored postponement, potentially profits can go up, right? And that's basically the idea, right? So I'm going to stop it here, and so this is all I wanted to cover with the different levers to increase supply chain profitability. There is one more which the textbook talks about, but that's a bit more complicated, and I'm not going to cover that um, in this class. So we looked at improved forecasting, quick response, and postponement. All right. Okay. Have a good day. I'll see you next week. Take care.